It is 11:59. Happy New Year from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Lucas Panzica. College football playoff quarterfinals continue on this afternoon, 3 p.m. Georgia and Notre Dame in the Sugar Bowl in a game that was postponed due to the terror attack in New Orleans. The winner will move on to play Penn State in the semifinal. Yesterday was Texas surviving Arizona State in double overtime despite a monster performance from ASU running back Cam Skattebo. Texas getting it done in double OT, 39-31, and Ohio State continued its tear with a 41-21 rout over Oregon in the Rose Bowl. Texas and Ohio State will face off in the semifinal. The Titans finish out the regular season Sunday at home against the Houston Texans, wearing the Oilers uniforms at Nissan Stadium. Pro Bowl rosters came out today. No Titans players were named as starters, though Jeffrey Simmons, Tony Pollard, Amani Hooker, and Ryan Stonehouse were named alternates. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Season Garage Doors. First show of 2025 is here. We're going to kick it off.
That's crazy.
With a bang.
Yeah,
I know. Now, here's the thing. When it's 2025, how long does it take you when you're filling out your dates to go from 24 to 25? Like when you're filling out your dates?
I think it's going to take longer now for me. I'm going to say this. Because how often, for me, I'm only going to speak for me. How often am I writing checks now? That's usually the glaring factor, or maybe filling out something with my address. But that, I don't hardly ever do that really anymore.
I know. Usually it's all filled out for you by the time you autofill and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know, man. It may take a minute, but here on the show, we'll know it's all gotten started and revved up to go, man. I'm excited, man. 2025, man. What were some of the things you thought would never happen by this time?
Wow,
that just hit me. I don't even know the answer to that.
I figure we'd have a flying car by now.
Man.
I figured by now, flying car would have been a thing. Like a legit flying car that,
I'm
not necessarily Jetsons or anything, but like maybe something that hovers.
I'm all about the Jetsons.
Something that hovers off the ground.
Because we got to quit expanding all these, get the freeways expanded and everything.
Yeah.
Let's just go above. Ooh.
Right.
Yeah.
There you go.
Give us some more trains. But yeah, I like it since we have
never
electric
thought
cars.
something as ugly as the Cybertruck would exist.
Yeah.
Something uglier than the Aztec or the PT Cruiser. And listen, I'm an Aztec, Pontiac Aztec fan.
People like, I'm sure you don't, but they like it because it's new and it's different.
It is.
Man, it seemed like it would be hard to park too, man.
Yeah,
I've been inside a couple times, man. But that definitely is ugly. It's not my cup of tea. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. All right. College football playoffs happen, and I want to
stop.
Yeah, no,
we're not starting with college. We're going to start off with your team, Alabama.
Oh,
what is
they
going
on? They made it further. They played football at a later date than University of Tennessee, so I guess they got that going for. Listen, Jalen Milroe.
I didn't watch a lot of games, but I was definitely back and forth because I have a couple French kids on the team. So
of course that was going on when we were here. But Jalen Milroe, I'm ready for him to be off Alabama. Like at first, earlier in the year, I said, okay, well maybe he just comes back and then the second year in DeBoer's system and all this kind of stuff. No, I think it's time to move on from Jalen Milroe. Let him. Listen, he should not enter the NFL draft. And I know that there are people out there that say that the NFL draft boards and scouts, professional scouts,
have him top 5 quarterbacks.
Have him rated highly as a running back.
Yeah. Ooh.
And I think he should go back and make it work maybe in a different system, get another year. I think there's a lot of quarterbacks in that kind of like gray area where they could come out. But I guess if Jalen Milroe does come out, we'll know a little bit more about what the NFL thinks of him because they know kind of where the NFL kind of views these players as a prospect and, in certain rounds and all that kind of stuff. But in my mind, Jalen Milroe's got to go back to college. It's best for him to go back to college.
But just not to Alabama.
Just not to Alabama. See ya.
I just think
I appreciate what you've done, but it's time for us to move on.
Classic example of has all the tools.
Yeah.
Has the arm strength, has the running ability, but he is not a polished passer.
Yeah.
And so you say, okay, how can we get him to be more polished passer? We can work on those things. We can improve. And that's why he's on the draft boards.
And now he's even all year long. I don't know if you know this. The way that he has stood lets the team know, the opposing defenses, whether it's a run or a pass. If he puts both of his feet together, it's one way. If he has the foot, front and back.
Oh, my.
So he's gotten, listen, coaches come in and coach. But sometimes players just revert to who they've always been. And Jalen Milroe kind of like clicked it on after he got benched under Nick Saban. But this year, with a worse roster around him, because this is way worse roster than what he had the year prior, and this team leaning more into the run game with Jalen Milroe, using him as a runner on purpose, way more so than Nick Saban did, he still couldn't take that next step. And sometimes when you as a quarterback don't take that next step, sometimes it could be coaching, sometimes it could be adjusting to a new system, but more than likely you just need more time to develop maybe elsewhere. Because Kalen DeBoer, kind of like Brian Callen, doesn't have time next year to see if Jalen Milroe can progress. He doesn't have that luxury, more than likely.
He worked with Penix, and he was a polished passer.
Yeah.
Nothing like a runner like Milroe, of course. But if you can combine that with Penix's arm with Milroe, oh my, you got the number 1 overall pick. And see, that is why the NFL says we can work with that with all the talent. Now, there's a lot in between the years, and there's a lot of things he has to go get used to in the NFL, going through his progression reads, getting rid of the ball quick, and all those things. Can he do that? And so through the interviewing process, that's how you learn about what he knows and doesn't know and what he's working on. And to me, all he needs to do is go to a quarterback guru this offseason and continue to grow, whether that's at Alabama or somewhere else. It doesn't matter to me. So I just want to see him progress, because you just hate to see a guy with that kind of talent just stay stagnant and not improve. And that's on him. That has nothing to do with the university and everything. They can coach him up, a little bit in spring. People could talk about spring ball. I've been through some spring ball. Spring ball, for the guys who are the dudes and are the starters, man, you just trying to make sure you get through that thing without getting injured.
Well, I mean, look at this way. It's kind of like Cardale Jones and some of those Ohio State quarterbacks, Dwayne Haskins, that were really and he's more, let me say this, Jalen Milroe is way more athletic. But they never took that leap, and everybody had that. Everybody fell in love with the cannon arm. You could look at Will Levis. Everybody fell in love with the cannon arm. But at the end of the day, you're right. It's more and more apparent it's what's in between the ears.
Don't know.
Can you make all the throws necessary at every level of the field on time and in the right spot? And Jalen Milroe just puts the ball in harm's way. I mean, I don't know what I did to deserve Will Levis and Jalen Milroe quarterback play in 2024. But let me say something. I will not go through that in 2025.
Whoa. So, okay, since we're talking about this now.
Maybe I'm the issue.
Watch this, I'm about to get you. Will Levis comes out this year, would he be the number 1 pick?
Oh, I don't think so. I know there are people who think there is. I don't think so.
I'm just talking about how not how you think.
No,
the NFL
I would say no.
thinks.
I would say no. I think he would be quarterback 3 in this class, but I do not think he would be quarterback 1 in this class. Now, he may go in the first round in this draft class, but he ain't going top 5 in this draft class, if that makes sense.
Oh, not top 5? So give me the traits of the guys you think are better than him with traits.
Yeah. Now, are you talking...
That's NFL standard. It's about traits.
Well, let me ask you a question. When you say traits, what do you mean? Do you just mean pure athleticism and
athleticism and arm strength, yeah.
Okay, well then Levis has both of those. I would say that maybe Cam Ward... I think Cam Ward and him are the same on arm strength. I'm not... Man, they're pretty much the same, but also I think that in his own class, outside of Anthony Richardson, he had the best arm strength and best athleticism, and we saw that didn't push him into the first round. So I don't know if the NFL truly views it that way anymore.
Well, I think the NFL knew more about him what was in between
Yeah.
years. I think
once you factor that in, that's what kicks him out of this draft
right,
class.
but that's why I said just talent.
Yeah.
Arm talent and his ability as an athlete.
Yeah.
And that same thing is that's what I was
it's
touching on
better
with
than
Milroe.
Shadur Sanders.
Yeah.
But I'd say
I
him
don't
and
think-
Cam Ward are kind of the same.
Yeah, I would say, I would say if I was looking at the quarterbacks and I watched a little bit of Shador, one thing I like about him is he goes through his progression and he's tough. He's dealt with not having a offensive line the year before, but his arm talent is not better than Levis. And see, when I start every quarterback I look at this offseason, I'm going to compare their traits to Will Levis. That doesn't mean I don't have a chance to sit down with them and have a conversation with them and understand who they are and what makes them who they are as a football player and how much they understand about the game, because they can dupe you in those interviews too.
Yeah.
So when I'm looking at traits, it's kind of interesting. I looked at yours. Don't even know. Is he coming out? Is yours coming out?
I don't think he's announced
that
yet.
yet. But
well,
I
he's
looked at
also
him.
still in the playoffs, so he may be waiting for that.
I've kind of looked at even Cam Ward was probably their athleticism was somewhat similar. Arm strength is kind of hard to tell. You want to think that it's somewhat really close. I almost felt like they were the same player. I just wish I could sit down with Cam Ward and figure out, because he does some unforced error type stuff. You watch him and you go, that is not going to work in the National Football League.
Over 50 fumbles and crazy amount of interceptions on top of that. I think over 80-something turnovers.
Yeah, Jackson said he recovered one of those fumbles in one of those games he was playing in, too.
Over at Incarnate
It was
Word?
somebody else named Jackson, my bad. But yeah, it was just, it made me really disappointed in this year's quarterback class. There's nothing that made me stand out. Shador, you just see, I didn't like his arm strength. I've watched a couple times. They float in the air a little bit.
He has that borderline NFL arm strength. Now, he's got the accuracy, though, and the timing.
Yes.
So I kind of look at it like this. Shadur Sanders is a guy that if you were listing out everything you're looking for in a quarterback, arm strength, talent, all that kind of stuff, he's probably B+ to B all across the board.
I would say he's a little above enough average, yes.
And so when you look at like Cam Ward, he has a couple of A's, but then he has a couple of F's and D's, in terms of turnover, playing within structure, all the traits, not just the athletic traits. And I think that sometimes, fans see those A+ and those A's and forget about everything else it takes to be quarterback.
What did you think about Shador's pocket presence?
It needs work. But he also is trying to. At least he keeps his eyes downfield. And I think Drew Aller, who just played at Penn State, if you watch that Penn State Boise State game,
I did.
He struggled a lot with pocket presence. He couldn't tell where and that's why I think Drew Aller should go back to school. And he has a higher chance of going as a QB1 or QB2 next year than he does really this year, because he's a guy that has to sit. And that's kind of where I'm at with this quarterback class, Blaine. And maybe that factors into whether or not you want to even draft a quarterback, is that I still contend you have to sit. You don't have to do anything, but you need to sit all the quarterbacks that are coming out in this draft class for a year in the NFL.
Yeah, I would concur with that.
And that's just where it's at. Now, some may be able to join in at week 8 or week 9. But at the end of the day, unless they come in and do what Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix did, they came in and won those battles. Now, it's against Jarrett Stidham and Marcus Mariota, so, that ain't nothing to, really hang your hat on. But they were put into a real battle, and they weren't given the reins. Same with Drake May. Same with J.J. McCarthy. The only person that was given the reins day one, as soon as he entered the building, as soon as he put on his little baseball cap and held up the jersey, was Caleb Williams. Everybody else was trending to have to be in a competition or actually sit, because the plan was for J.J. McCarthy to sit behind Sam Darnold. So, and Michael Penix Jr. sat behind Kirk Cousins. But if one of these quarterbacks were to come in and, let's say, insert vet name here, and the rookies beat them out fair and square, then there you go. But if they don't force the issue.
Well, cool. Let's talk about a little bit more, because there's another quarterback. Jackson Dart. What are your thoughts on him as we return?
Hey, Will Howard, too.
Oh, yeah.
This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone. Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here, 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Store, 615-737-1045. We're talking quarterbacks, and there's a unique discussion. Mm-hmm. And we're going to get to your phones here in just a second, 615-737-1045. But it's not about who's the best quarterback. It's who's the best quarterback for the Tennessee Titans system that we know of right now. Barring Brian Callahan getting fired out of nowhere for what we assume would be out of nowhere, we got to think about the quarterbacks that fit for the Tennessee Titans. We got to think because they want efficiency. Mm-hmm. They want timing throws. They want guys that go through their progressions. They're not necessarily looking for the guy that goes crazy out of structure and sometimes goes crazy in structure. And can launch the ball 70 yards down the field flat-footed. That's not necessarily what they're looking for. But first, let's go to Jay in Jacksonville, who wants to talk about quarterbacks. Jay, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
How you guys doing?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Happy New Year to you guys, first of all.
Happy New Year.
And then, elaborate on your question, I think Shedeur Sanders fits perfectly because, I mean, he's not what you call a running quarterback. Mm-hmm. Like he'll run if he needs to, but he looks to throw first. So that's why I think he's probably the better fit. I know Cam Ward, he does have the cannon for an arm, but he's also one of those like running types of quarterbacks. I'm not going to compare Shedeur Sanders to Joe Burrow because it's not even a question, but Joe Burrow, I wouldn't even consider him a running quarterback. I think he throws first but can run. Mm-hmm. I think Joe Burrow is that type of quarterback. That's why I feel like that's why there's more so a comparison in that point because I think Shedeur, he'll run when he has to, but he definitely goes through his progressions and everything. And I think he definitely looks for the throw first. So I think he's more so, and he's battle tested a little bit as well because he didn't have the best offensive line in college, but he was still able to be efficient despite him having not the best offensive line. Of course, if he falls to the Tennessee Titans, they can get their offensive line and better. But I think he's more so better equipped to deal with that pressure of not having the best blocking, but still being an efficient quarterback. So that's my question to you guys. Do you think Shedeur is a better fit for the Tennessee Titans? Because I think he is. I definitely think he is. I think he's a better fit for the Tennessee Titans than a Cam Ward or Quinn Ewers or even the what's the guy, Dylan Gabriel? That's another one. But I think I definitely think Shedeur fits the bill better. And one more thing to Blaine. Listen, my father-in-law is a big Jacksonville Jaguars fan. I live in Jacksonville, Florida, of course. Being a Titans fan in Jacksonville, you and Steve McNair aren't really liked here.
I know when I do the Jacksonville radio, let alone Leon Searcy's on there, who was an offensive tackle. Every time I give him a compliment, they think I'm full of crap.
Definitely. No. My father-in-law always reverts back to the AFC Championship game. He was like, listen, number 22 was blitzing all game. I can't stand him. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to point that out. But I just wanted to know you guys' opinions on Shedeur Sanders being a better fit. I'll definitely hang up and listen.
Appreciate that, Jay.
Hey, thanks, Jay. That's where I land on the two top quarterbacks. Is that, and even comparing it to Will Levis, Shedeur Sanders fits way more than either of the two quarterbacks. Does it mean he's more athletically gifted, more talented, better arm strength? Mm-hmm. No. It means that he does everything that is needed to be a successful quarterback in this particular system. Now, if you were to ask, Shedeur Sanders to go play like Patrick Mahomes, out of structure or something, that's probably not going to be his game, right? Now he's athletic. He's sneaky athletic.
Yeah.
But he's not Cam Ward athletic. He's not built like Will Levis. He may be a little faster than Will Levis, but he's not as built like a, brick house, kind of like, in a lab, Frankenstein's monster, quarterback.
Yeah. Will Levis is, we could talk about all the things he's not good at. He's built NFL build.
Right.
And he's got that arm strength. I just think he's a much more polished quarterback that fits kind of this scheme and system. There's no doubt about it. I think you've been on it because you've been watching quarterbacks longer than I have this offseason. I'm just really kind of delving into it a little bit now. And Yeah, he plays in structure, tries to maneuver in the pocket. All the things that I say I love about Joe Burrow, that's why he's my number one quarterback, even over Mahomes, is that he plays within the structure, and then he has great feel for pocket presence, and he can run just enough to make him dangerous,
right?
To keep the chains moving. So that's kind of where I like my quarterbacks, because if you just go look over the history of the National Football League, running quarterbacks aren't at the top of the list of winning Super Bowls. And we can look at, Lamar Jackson is one of the most elite and electric players in the National Football League, and he hasn't won an NFL, championship, but he's won some MVPs.
Yeah.
So until that happens, do I believe that your quarterback has to be a runner? Now, there's been some runners, that's won some Super Bowls, but just over the history of the league, even Russell Wilson, I don't say he's a runner. He plays in structure, and he's available to run if he needs to. So I like Shedeur for all those things. I think he's a very competent, sharp guy, just even from afar, even just listen to some of his interviews, as well as how he goes through his progression reads and how he's been trained, I'm assuming, with some form of a quarterback guru to get to that level. Athletically, he's just good enough and barely over the average mark for me, which is good enough to play quarterback, and he can pretty much make all the throws. There's a question on his deep ball throws. At times, it flutters and hangs in the air a little bit too long for me, so that lends to me that his arm strength could be in question, so that'd be something that I will watch through the combine process. Other than that, there's not too much I don't like about him. I think he fits the system, and sometimes fit matters.
Yeah, fit. That's one of the biggest things is fit.
Yeah,
because you got to make sure you have the system in place, right? You have also 10 other players that have to fit your system as well as the quarterback, and that's why I kind of lean Shedeur, because we know what the system wants to be, and they tried, I think, Levis's best games this year, that 4-game run, they were adding in stuff that worked for Levis, that worked also within their system. But with Shedeur, you may be able to have to conform a little bit less, maybe not even at all. And I look at it, and I look at Cam Ward, and there are times, much like Levis, where he has a clean pocket, and he just has a brain fart, I guess, and then does something crazy, and sometimes it works, but those plays, but that's a play that is not going to have a high probability chance of succeeding in the NFL. Works great against the ACC, except for ranked teams. He's never beaten a ranked team this year. But when you get into the NFL and you have a clean pocket and you decide not to, I guess, use that to your advantage as a quarterback, you're going to make a mistake more often than not.
Yeah. And I hate it because it's a, oxymoron, because you want a guy to play with confidence and that air of that he can make a play, but there's a time when you have to submit and say, hey, you have to live for another play. And that's the part that scares me. So that's where having those conversations and because you want them to have this confidence that they can make every throw, it can make a play, but it also, you got to will them back enough where you're not stunning their growth and how they play. I think that's Andy Reid's biggest trait with Mahomes. People forget what Mahomes was in the beginning. They only see what he is today. But he was still the Willard and Diller, just like he is today. He just has more reign because he has so much more success. So I think that's always a balancing act by the people who are handling their quarterbacks when they have the skill set of kind of a, gambler. It's kind of, I think you mentioned, I said Brett Favre, and you mentioned, who was it you mentioned that was somewhat similar?
Oh, Ryan Fitzpatrick and Jameis Winston.
Yeah, those guys who are kind of, I would say gamblers, but I don't like that out of my I don't want that in my quarterback. Yeah. I just don't. I think there's too many chances in the NFL. And the reason why is because guys are so much faster in the NFL, those things, it won't work most of the time.
Right.
So I'm not going to say all, but most of the time they won't work because of the speed of the game. And so you got to get that out of them. And how do you do that? And how long does that take? We saw with Will Levis live and in action that there's a part of him that just was never going to let that go. He was going to be the gunslinger, and he was going to eventually try to throw it down the field regardless if it was designed or that, or the defense was taking it away, because there was no way he didn't know they were playing 3 deep and he threw it right across the middle on a deep ball. I mean, man, that was elementary for me, man. That was like, oh, why did you throw that? because you said in your head,
Right.
I'm going to throw that. Well, you shouldn't have. Because that had no business being coming out of your hand down the middle. Your thought process, at worst case scenario, throw it down to the right or left sideline and say, hey, make a play, wide receiver against one of the cornerbacks instead of a guy just sitting there. And then that turned into a touchdown. He turned that into a touchdown stone. I'll never forget that play. So
Yeah, I mean, I look
Tough
at
call.
So here's the thing. If you're looking for a first-round quarterback, it's Cam Ward and Shadur Sanders. And for the Tennessee Titans, it's Shadur Sanders. Based on fit.
Right.
Now, let's talk about other quarterbacks. Let's say that they have a vet that like a Derek Carr or Kirk Cousins or insert quarterback, whatever vet quarterback you want, Justin Fields. Let's say they have that guy and they decide to either trade back or draft a dual Carter or Travis Hunter with that second overall pick. Well, then you can look at other quarterbacks in this draft. I do think there are some quarterbacks that you can kind of take a flyer on, a low-risk flyer.
Later in the round?
Later in the draft.
Okay, I got you. I'm with you.
You don't have to.
I like Jackson Dart's skill set. It's just that offense, sometimes the translation over to the NFL,
Right.
it doesn't happen as quick as you want. And that is a fair factor. So that drops him down. I like his skill, though. Athletically, I think it's on his throws.
He's young, too.
Yeah.
He'll be 22 at the start of the NFL season.
That's the same kid that went to USC, right?
No. Well, it was Arizona State.
Arizona State?
Or Arizona.
I was somewhere on the West Coast.
Yeah. So he's been in the league. He's been in the NCAA a while, but he's going to be 22 at the start of the season. I think that's a guy.
I think he's kind of a third-round pick guy. What do you say?
I would say right now probably fifth round. Now, here's the thing. We'll see. He's got a bowl game today against Duke. Okay, then we're going to see him in the Senior Bowl. So that's a guy that can, up his stock.
We'll get to see him.
So that's going to be, I think at the Senior Bowls, Jackson Dart, Dylan Gabriel will also be down there out of this list that are guys that you may consider. If you were in the seventh round and you took a Seth Hennigan, that guy would probably work in the system, but that's a seventh round UDFA kind of guy.
You got to say where all the guys go because people don't know.
Memphis.
That's our guy.
Okay. So I really liked what I've seen from Will Howard. I'm a little Will curious right now. I mean, he's really turned it on in the big moments.
Yes.
And that matters to this team. If you recall when Brian Callahan first got this job, he talked about players to step up in the big moments and how they handle that pressure and players that are team captains. Will Howard is a guy who will be 23 at the beginning of the NFL season, a little old, but most of these quarterbacks are going to be that old now. Good low pressure to sack ratio, one of the lowest in this class, one of the higher average depths of target, really high big time throw rate. I mean, this guy's, he's pretty good, and he's showing up in big moments right now. I mean, he outdueled Dylan Gabriel by a mile. Now, he got help from his defense. His defense was going insane yesterday. But you look at a guy like Will Howard and even Quinn Ewers, if he's still there in the fifth round, I'd be all right with Quinn Ewers if he is there in the fifth round. You got to fix his footwork, but that's mainly what his issue is footwork.
So you're saying Will Howard, Quinn Ewers, and Gabriel are all later round picks.
I would say that they probably are trending that way. By the time
now, I'm with you. I think Howard I would put ahead at fifth round, Gabriel at sixth round. I kind of wrote this stuff down here. Actually, when I go through Gabriel, as much as he's a great college player and he's an older guy, his arm strength for the NFL, I don't know about. He has to be in the right offense for him to ever be a starter there. Also, you not forget the Notre Dame kid, Riley Leonard, who kind of is that fifth round guy too.
We'll see him against Georgia, which would be a good test today.
Good test with speed, size, ratio of the guys he's playing. So
Colin McCord from Syracuse is a guy that go back and watch the bowl game. What he's done at Syracuse, he's got over 4,000 yards over at Syracuse as a passer. Mm-hmm. He looked really good. They have a really good tight end over there whose name escapes me that should be on Tennessee Titans fans' radar. Rondé, I think is his first name. I can't remember his last name, but what Colin McCord has been able to do in Syracuse versus what he did last year with Ohio State is pretty remarkable.
Okay. How's he compared to the IU guy, who I think is a backup in the NFL, but I think he still is kind of that polished quarterback that goes through his progression reads. I think it's a Rourke or
Curtis Rourke.
Yeah.
He gets the ball out quicker than Curtis Rourke.
Yes.
That's his big thing, is that we're talking about 2.46 seconds average time to throw, which is one of the lowest in this class, if not so far the lowest in this class right now. Wow. Kyle McCord.
Dang. And see, that shows you how the league is just different. What about Riley Leonard? Last one, I guess, from with Notre Dame, which we'll get to see tonight. But didn't he transfer from Duke?
He transferred from Duke. Doesn't turn the ball over that much. Doesn't really put the ball in harm's way, I guess you should say. So his turnover-worthy play percentage is 2%. So that's one of the lower ones in the league. Shedur's, I think the lowest right now, 1.7% turnover-worthy play percentage. So talk about a guy that doesn't put the ball in harm's way. And that's really what leads to his sacks a lot, is that he's so scared to put the ball in harm's way because he's trying to keep his eyes downfield. That's the one thing you can say about Shedur. No matter what, he keeps those eyes downfield looking for a lane to throw it in.
Yeah, they've done a good job, but whether it's his dad or whoever's been training him as a quarterback, he's got some of all the nuances down. Now it's about, okay, how will this work in the league with the speed of the game and how quick he can adjust? And should he play right away, which you mentioned probably not, and get a veteran in front of him and see where it goes from there, and maybe halfway through the season or next season he becomes the starter.
Right. And I look at it this way, Blaine, while we're talking about quarterbacks and paths to the draft, if you forego a quarterback in this draft for whatever reason, it's not the end of the world.
Right.
Because hypothetically, Drew Aller is supposed to be coming back. Cade Klubnik from Clemson, so the Penn State quarterback, Cade Klubnik from Clemson, are both, looking like they're going to come back. On top of Garrett Nussmeier, who may come out after next year. You never know what's going to happen with Nico and Arch Manning. That quarterback class gets a little bit deeper theoretically next year. So it's not the end of the world if you were to forgo a quarterback in this draft class. You just have to sell Amy Adams-Strunk on it. Like, that is the key. Ownership's involvement in this quarterback path, or their understanding of what the plan is paramount to the success and job security of these coaches next year and the future of the franchise beyond that.
Well, I would be saying, and they may not know the answers to this, as I mentioned before, is where do these guys rank compared to Will Levis, these first two guys? If we have the second pick, and then what is the growth rate and how much time do you think it's going to take for him to pick up your offense and be a better fit for what you like to do? Because then guess what? Once you say that hint then leads to no more hidden things about who's the fit for your offense.
Right.
There are no more excuses for that. Now it's on you. You didn't inherit the kid. You now were part of the process and picking your guy, whether it's as a backup for 1 year and understanding what we're going to try to do and bringing in a veteran ahead of them. So, yeah, and then everybody's on the same page, and I think then everybody's clock is ticking at the same.
Yeah, and no excuses, right? You have a chance to course correct the quarterback situation to something more your flavor.
But there's going to be a lot of pressure when you have number 2 pick, and then you take them for the fans to want him to see him sooner than
you got to be able to block out that noise if it's not what's best for the team.
Right.
And fans really need to understand that too.
And the fans.
I know. Listen, we have the smartest fans listening to us. So I know our fans understand.
Right.
So quarterback development is not linear, and patience is key.
Ooh, man, they're going to say we've been patient the last 2 years.
Yeah, well, I mean, hey, listen. We've been patient for a while in searching for a franchise quarterback. I mean, honestly, like a long-term answer. Yeah. We've been searching since really, Steve McNair.
Yeah, no doubt. But we all know what fans stand for, right?
Fanatics.
Yeah, exactly.
They're fanatical.
Fanatical is nowhere near that as a word to say fanatical, patient.
Yeah.
They'll go together.
But that's the story of this draft class. This draft class in general, not just quarterbacks, this is not as good a draft class as what you saw last year. I mean, think about all the hits from the 2024 draft class in the first round. Almost, I'd say 90% of them have been hits for their teams or have shown, that they're going to be something in this league. This draft class is not going to be the same. So today, Bleacher Report put out their big board.
What?
Okay, so Bleacher Report employs one of the best one of the guys I respect the most when it comes to offensive line analysis. And he put out the big board. So they divvy up their big boards, right? Everybody has their own position group. And in those position groups, everybody gets an individual grade. Then they rank them based on the grades. Well, it was really interesting to see what Brandon Thorne of Trench Warfare, who's a guy that you guys need to put on your radar as far as offensive line analysis of prospects. We're going to talk about what that means for the Tennessee Titans at the top of the draft when we come back. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone.
Good job, Jackson.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Door, 615-737-1045 if you want to get on the conversation. A couple of injury updates. These are courtesy of Paul Kaharski. Jack Gibbons and Lloyd Cushenberry were there yesterday in boots. Traylon Burks is in the locker room today. L'Jarius Sneed had a bone marrow injection 6 weeks ago.
Whoa. So who?
L'Jarius Sneed.
Had a bone
Marrow injection 6 weeks ago. Left leg brace on for 1 more week. And Quandre Diggs was also there, and he's got boots on crutches. And
boots?
I'd say boot.
Oh, okay.
Boot, sorry.
Because he had a fracture in his foot, correct?
So, yes. So, a bone marrow injection, also known as a bone marrow aspirate concentrate, a BMAC injection, not to be confused with B-Hop, BMAC injection.
I know what that is.
A procedure that uses stem cells from a patient's bone marrow to help treat knee injuries and osteoarthritis.
Ooh.
The benefits are that they can help with pain relief, swelling, and increased function. And they also are used to treat tendon tears. So this could be a situation where the swelling from, because we know what happened is, and you've talked about it a couple of times before, helmet to the quad, swelled up.
Or it could have been a knee.
Yeah, it could have been a knee. Well, they said quad, but it could be a knee too, or it could at least affect it.
Knee, no, I meant knee to the quad. It makes get everything out of whack.
And sometimes that can pretty much, almost callous. Callous is not the right word. Harden.
Oh, yes.
And maybe this is to get that swelling down to try and get it more manageable to where he could probably work out on it. We don't know the extent of all that kind of stuff. Just to put that out there, I'm just reading off what I've been off of Google what a BMAC injection does.
Oh. What is a bone marrow? What is it? What do they say?
Bone marrow injection.
Yes. What does that actually typically refer to? What do they try to do when they give these shots?
Well, it just kind of depends. Basically, it's either pain relief, swelling, and increased function.
That's it, huh? Wow.
So it's not to really, I guess, necessarily replace bone marrow and stuff like that. It's almost like a healing factor.
Right. So I was thinking it helps ligaments and tears maybe heal faster or heal. But I'm not a doctor, so I'm just guessing based off what you're telling me.
And here's something that's interesting. Some patients may actually be excluded from receiving these BMAC injections if they have certain conditions, such as previous knee trauma, knee surgery within the last 24 months, untreated knee instability, and a history of malignant neoplasia or rheumatic disease. So, we know that he had knee issues before. So whatever knee issues he had, that he played through in 2023 and was playing through in 2024 did not prevent him from getting this BMAC injection. So that's a good thing.
Well, I mean,
supposedly.
Right. I don't know.
I mean, at least he was able to get it, I guess.
Yeah, he got it regardless.
He wasn't excluded.
He was supposed to or not. So I don't know, man. But what it tells me, without knowing anything and not being a doctor, is this is a little extreme. And so this is a much bigger issue than we ever could have imagined.
That hit to the helmet, I mean, obviously got worse and worse as the season goes on because he was never going to come back this season, it seemed like. But they tried to keep him available because they thought that maybe it would be something that worked, he'd be able to work through. But apparently he needed like a boost. It's kind of like an immunity boost, you guess you could say.
Oh, I don't know much about any of that, but... yeah, this is oh man, it just made a couple of pains come back just thinking about stuff. I mean, man, a guy playing cornerback. I mean, basically, you're a sprinter. You're a track sprinter, and hearing all this, just man, This is the long-term plan. Hopefully, that they'll buy them a whole bunch of time we have to rest to get him back right, and at some point. Here in probably the next 4 months. I want to say it's more shorter term to see where he is at. I mean, because this has been already a long period of time now.
Well, it sounds like they waited probably too long and waited, I guess, we're overly reliant on hope and prayers I guess you could say.
Well,
they were kind of hoping that he would be able to come back, and he obviously couldn't. So 6 weeks ago, he had the injection. 1 week left of being in the brace. So once the brace comes off, and that would be 7 full weeks, I guess you could say, 8 full weeks of, resting the leg, getting the leg strength back up. Now we're kicking into rehab, right? Like now we're, putting some movement on it, putting some weight on it, and getting it going. So at least it's starting. That rehab process can start now. Yeah. That process can start now.
I would love to know if it was the same knee or, that he was having issues with before. That we don't know because it just says
I tried looking for it because everything just says knee. I don't know. I can't remember which knee it was for L'Jarius Sneed, whether it was the right or the left. I thought it was the left because someone said, I thought at some point throughout this season that this was the opposite knee of the one that was giving him issues, but I can't find where I saw that or where I heard it. So I'm not sure on that. But that's what I think, but I'm not very confident, like 50% confidence rate on that.
Right now, where would this put you as far as priority to have a cornerback in your draft works, or let's say sign some solid, veteran type, maybe, has some experience as starter, but not actually a starter. Would you even put that as on a free agent list, or would you just draft a cornerback maybe in the later rounds, come up with another Brownlee?
Yeah, another Brownlee Jr. or something. That's kind of how I view it, because you have Brownlee Jr. You could bring back Darrell Baker Jr. as well. You have Cheeto, you have Roger McCreary, and you have L'Jarius Sneed.
Wait a minute. Cheeto, didn't they bench him?
I don't. But he's still available.
No, I know. What I'm getting is that some way, somehow, that happened, whether regardless or not. So where are they at with him to be in a certain state?
I mean, you can get a little bit of cap savings, but I think with the state of the room, you keep Cheeto on another year. I mean, I just consider him as part of the depth.
Do well, but at the same time, going into the game,
he's like your sixth man.
Right.
He's like that. So, to me, I just look at it as
he's probably still the starter, because when is McCreary's contract up?
He's got one more year left.
Okay, gotcha.
So I kind of look at it as you got depth. So there's no need to spend a high draft pick. But if a guy really high on your board is there in the 5th round, kind of like Jarvis Brownlee Jr., you got to take him.
Yeah. But Baker, to me, he did well.
Yeah.
And he may not be able to be available because he's a free agent.
Yeah. So they got some free agents in house. They probably want to work on contracts sooner rather than later once Sunday ends. But that's kind of where I'm at on the corner. But to answer your question,
he's the defensive NWI in my mind.
Yeah,
and he did it in 1 year, where NWI has been here his entire career.
But to answer your question, that's how I kind of look at this whole situation: is that cornerback's not as much as a need as you got some needs elsewhere.
Correct.
And so I look at that's how I kind of view it in that way. We're going to talk about the Bleacher Report today. Came out with their updated big board after this weekend's of games, last couple of weeks. And I thought it was interesting that Brandon Thorne has Will Campbell, the left tackle from LSU, as his highest rated offensive lineman, but it's listed as an interior offensive lineman. So I've been trying to tell people there is very Peter Skoronski-esque in a lot of Will Campbell, and I think that's why Brandon Thorne also sees that, puts him in at guard. Scouts are also saying that.
What's his numbers, height, weight?
He's 6'6", 3 something. So he's got the height and the weight, but they're worried about the length. We don't know arm length yet, true arm length yet. We won't know that till probably the Senior Bowl or Combine, whichever one some of these players, show up to. So they're really considered about power and arm length with Will Campbell. Now going to the next thing, Armand Membu, the tackle for Missouri, Josh Connerly, tackle from Oregon, and Josh Simmons, the injured left tackle I've been bringing up here and there from Ohio State, are the top 3 offensive tackles. If you notice, they are at 24th overall, 26th overall, and 27th overall currently. If you notice, a name that has not been mentioned yet is Kelvin Banks, the left tackle from Texas, who is going to probably be at 6'3". Now, he still has him listed as an offensive tackle, but has him listed as the OT4 in this class, 31st overall out of the entire group of prospects. So it's just interesting to see. So far, Brandon Thorne's kind of lining up with how I view this offensive line class, is that And Kelvin Banks, probably a right tackle, can make it in the NFL because he has great power. He's short, but he's built well because he's going to be under 6'3". But I think if he was a guard on his list, he would have been up higher. You get what I'm saying?
Oh, well, this is going to be another.
In other words, do not draft an offensive tackle in the top 10 picks.
Right. So now, free agency is first.
Yes.
So do you draft a bounce right tackle for insurance policies, veteran player?
You got to double dip.
You got to
double dip.
Just in case.
Yep.
Don't be like last year. Thank you.
Don't be like last year. You got to double dip. You got to cut NPF. He saves you a couple $1 million. Cut him. And don't worry about John Ojukwu. John Ojukwu and Jalen Duncan should not factor into your plans at right tackle in 2025. Sorry to all those. And I'm a big Ojukwu mania kind of guy. I like John Ojukwu.
Well, I mean, they could be backups.
Yeah, they could be backups. They should not Traylon Burks shouldn't have factored into their plans. Those guys should not factor in their plans. They should bring in two right tackles. In my mind, you should go bring in two tackles, vet and draft. And that's what you got to do if you're the Tennessee Titans. So that's kind of how I view that whole situation right there, is the fact that this just doesn't even mention, guys like Anthony Belton out of NC State, who is just like, he loves to maul people. What
did he give against Tennessee?
I don't think he gave up a sack against Tennessee. And then there was also, I can't pronounce his name correctly, but there's a kid from Minnesota, Armento Masaruli or something like that. It's a bad one.
Yeah, Jackson.
But it's a tough one. But that's a guy that is also probably going to go up the draft boards here too, is this kid from Minnesota. There's a lot of guys that you can pass on Will Campbell and Kelvin Banks and still find a right tackle in this draft class. Now, you got to find a right tackle that fits what Bill Callahan looks for. It's not necessarily those zone runners. He's looking for that gap guy. He's looking for that strength to be able, and that length to be able to handle on the edge. Because that's the thing about Will Campbell, is that he just doesn't have that. He can't handle speed edge rushers very well. And you don't need a guy like NPF again that can't handle, speed rushers very well, or any kind of rusher if you're talking about NPF. So I'm looking at it from that perspective, is like, you cannot, if you're in the top 5, if you're in the top 10, no offensive lineman.
Well, we got your man Stoney here saying, Zach, John Ojukwu is the future.
Yeah. Ojukwu mania.
Why did you say he was the future?
No.
With his massive calves?
Yeah, he's saying it. He's got to drink milk, a gallon of milk every day. When we come back, we'll talk more about the Tennessee Titans and talk about how many touchdowns has this team forfeited because of penalties, and where does it rank up against the rest of the NFL? This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone. Hour 2 of Cover 2 here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Doors, 615-737-1045. If you want to talk Tennessee Titans with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons. And we also, we still haven't even gotten around to talking about the targeting call in that Texas-Arizona State game. And some of the other college football, I'm about to call them bowl game performances, but playoff performances by some of the quarterbacks and other draft prospects. But first, let's go to Brandon in Westmoreland, who wants to talk about the Tennessee Titans. Brandon, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
What's up, fellas? How y'all doing today?
Doing good. How are you?
Man, it ain't like it was back in 99 and 2000, is it?
No.
So, wish we had you back, Blaine. Sorry. Check this out. So, is it okay to still be a Titans fan, because I am, but really want them to lose Sunday, and if they win, it's going to piss me off? Is that a bad thing?
No, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, Brandon. I've been the proponent. Listen, you root however you want to root, but if you're rooting for the health of this franchise long term, you're going to have to root for a loss. They need it. Mm-hmm. They need that draft pick.
Yeah, I think at this point in time where you're at now, and you tried to win games, you actually lost to get a better pick, whatever form that is as a fan, but also as an organization. I'm still curious on this Levis rotational quarterback deal, because man, they need to lose in the worst way, and it's the best. You want the best thing possible to get the highest pick. To accumulate draft capital, however you may do that, whether you're picking a quarterback, move down maybe a couple slots, pick up some more high-value picks, and continue to build the draft. This is the time, if you're a fan, to me, that you can actually root for that. Yeah. Not at the beginning of a season or after you lose 3 in a row in the middle of the season. This is the time we are pretty sure where you'll be, and then you hurt yourself moving to 7th or whatever if you win. I don't know the number. So, yeah, I get it. I mean, you can't go and support, though.
Yeah, well, if you want to go and support, we're going to give you an opportunity to. It's Titans Tickets Thursday, where 104.5 The Zone gives you a chance to win Tennessee Titans tickets on Thursdays before home games. Be caller number 5 now to win tickets to see the Titans host the Texans this Saturday, or actually this Sunday, at Nissan Stadium for their final home game of the 2024 regular season, plus 2 tickets to the Titans VIP tailgate with Ron Slay and DJ Seawiz, thanks to Bullseye Event Group, 615-737-1045, caller number 5. All right. So I came across this tweet the other day, brought to us by courtesy of, if I can get to it real quick, the pick In'em. So it's basically each NFL team's total number of touchdowns nullified by penalties over the past 5 regular seasons. So this includes Vrabel. Only 9 touchdowns have been nullified by penalty, and at least 4 of them here this year. It feels like this year. But what's interesting is that the Bills, the Chiefs, the Eagles, and the Texans are the top 4 in that time frame. Obviously, in the past 5 years, C.J. Stroud just there for 2 of them. But the Eagles, the Chiefs, and the Bills have had the same quarterback for almost all 5 of those seasons, and they've had the most penalties nullified. I thought that was just very interesting.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, that would have been my curiosity. You had 9 touchdowns taken back by penalties. Where would that rank?
Right.
Because I would assume that's pretty...
That's tied for 10th.
Pretty average, yeah. So they almost... So, yeah, so it is what it is. I just... that's not a... It's a stat where you can look at it in multiple ways, but first and foremost, it starts with the player. And those are probably different players that had penalties, let alone if you're a heavily penalty team, then that is part of the head coach. When you have a highly penalized team, that means that obviously they're not disciplined. And in watching this team, I don't feel like they're an undisciplined team, but they continue to make the same mistakes. When I'm talking about offensive line or false starting or not lining up correctly to the line, that means if the player's not doing it, then either you take them out or you are allowing it to happen.
Yeah.
So these are the things to me that can, destroy a team because of discipline. Because the but the average team to below average team, the measure of who is good and not is so close, and those are very pivotal, especially on this team who can't ever overcome any penalty. To be honest, I feel like they haven't overcome. I'm sure there was a time or two, but man, every time I'm talking about even a 5-yard penalty, and I get it, it can hurt you, but man, we're just that under the radar as far as talent compared to everybody else's. Yeah, I'm not a big guy on built-in excuses for why we didn't score. So that doesn't resonate with me. Either you got it done or you didn't. The only stat that matters is if you won or lost. You can't overcome those bad mistakes. Things are going to happen. You're going to have penalties. You're going to fumble. They're going to score touchdowns. They're going to do this and that. But at the end of the day, winning, that's all that matters. Everybody talk about they want a plan. Well, who cares what the freaking plan is? Just win. Really? I don't care about the plan. Just win. I want the product to look good and win. So as a fan. So everybody asking, I want to hear the plan from the owner, the GM, and this and that. Or players got to play better, got to get better talent. Coaches got to coach better.
Well, you talk about getting better talent. That's one of the big things. And by the way, we do have a winner for the Titans Ticket Thursday. Jackson, who won?
Daniel Craig.
What?
Craig.
James Bond?
Exactly. That's what I said. What?
Daniel Craig.
Yes.
Are you sure you didn't get a fake name? Is this a Wesley Steinberg situation?
No, because they have to give me their email, and their email is dcraig25, or I'm not going to dox again.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Didn't finish it.
Yeah. Well, congratulations, Daniel Craig. We'll open up the phone lines for conversation, but the Tennessee Titans tickets for the Texans game Sunday have been given away on this Tennessee Titans Ticket Thursday. Easy for me to say. All right. So you were talking about talent not being on this team and the thin margin for errors, which is something that we've kind of talked about the whole season long, is that penalties and turnovers have led to points coming off the board, but they have also thin margin of error for anything to happen. Then the Pro Bowl rosters came out today, and the Tennessee Titans have 4 alternate Pro Bowlers: Jeffrey Simmons, Amani Hooker, Tony Pollard, Ryan Stonehouse, a defensive tackle, a safety, a running back, and a punter. Those aren't really, no offense to these guys in the position that they play, no offense to safeties or anything like that, but those aren't the positions of impact that you'd like to see maybe even just Pro Bowl alternates come from in today's NFL. And this really just speaks largely to the volume, the cranking up the volume on. This team really lacks a lot of Pro Bowl talent. Little Jerry Sneed probably could have been on this list. Maybe Quandre Diggs if he continued the trajectory that he was on. But this team really is lacking a lot of Pro Bowl talent. And maybe next year Skoronski takes that leap because he's looked really good the rest of the way. But at the end of the day, they lack the talent necessary to compete consistently every week at a high level. And that's what you need in the NFL. You got to start amassing not only young players, but players that are actually good to great.
Yeah.
A team of average Joes can't work.
Right, no doubt. You got to have more than that. But are those all J-Rob draft picks?
So 2 J-Rob draft picks. And
Pollard was a free agent.
And Pollard was a free agent, and Ryan Stonehouse was an undrafted free agent, but I think it was under the J-Rob era.
So 3, yeah, man, it's just kind of interesting. But, there is no elite talent. We understand that Simmons was playing through an injury that got him to be an alternate there. I don't know what level of alternate that is. But, yeah, there's no outstanding, A++ talent. You got to have a couple of those guys that impact the game at vital positions. That's pass rusher, that's quarterback, that's wide receiver, and and I would say and if you want to have an elite cornerback, you can get away with having really good corners. You don't have to have an elite one, but you have to have also other pieces in the secondary that are really good too. So, but yeah, impactful positions must be addressed here, and hopefully they get it done. But man, it's not going to get done in one draft. That's for sure.
Right. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Playmakers and game wreckers. That's the motto. That's my motto. You'll probably hear it like 30,000 more times this offseason. But for this Tennessee Titans team, that's what they need.
I saw a mock draft that had this driving the kid from Arizona.
I know. And number 2.
Number 2.
So did you read the scenario that they played out?
It was if they sign a veteran quarterback, right?
Yeah. So there was a scenario that they played out that Sam Darnold signed with the Titans. Mm-hmm. So Sam Darnold is your quarterback for the Tennessee Titans. This is CBS Sports. So they have them take McMillan. Mm-hmm. Abdul Carter was on the board. What are we doing here, CBS? Abdul Carter is the second best player in this draft, and and this team desperately needs edge rush help. And they have them taking Ted McMillan out of Arizona, which is just a guy that kind of reminds me of Drake London, who is fine, but he's a wide receiver too in this league. He's nothing special. Yeah. You need someone special.
Good player.
And I mean, the difference between NWI and Ted McMillan, like NWI now and maybe Ted McMillan is maybe a few hundred yards in receiving, but that's about it. Yeah. Like, bring me Luther Burden if you're going to draft a wide receiver, but in that spot, you got to take Abdul Carter.
Because they had Hunter first, so just to be fair, and then this guy, I was like, what?
Okay, we got some breaking news here coming in.
We love it. Oh, during our show?
About you blew my eardrums out.
You hate my breaking news.
Jalen Milroe is entering the NFL draft. He's declaring for the draft. Good luck, bud. Good luck.
Spoken like a true Alabama fan that hates you.
Good luck to him. That will be an interesting. Wow. That's an interesting prospect from to see how that storyline develops throughout the year. Throughout this offseason. What are the rumors that are going to be coming out? What are scouts going to say they think about him? What team does he go to? Where is that best fit? So it'll be interesting to see where Jalen Milroe actually ends up and follow. But yeah, I don't know. I'm at a loss for words because I'm like, I guess he's just taking advantage of a bad draft class for quarterbacks, and maybe he's going to get lost. He's afraid he's going to get lost in the shuffle next year, where it's a deeper class.
Things that make you go home.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna say this: he is an ultra talented player, and if he goes to the right team that'll let him develop for the next 2 or 3 years, I don't know what team that is. I'm gonna throw out a scenario. Let's just say the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles, a talented team. They're going to have a late round pick each round, 31st or whatever.
That's who popped up in my head too.
So I'm like, okay. And then they can afford to have a guy sit on the bench and learn with all his skill set and see. They can roll the dice is what I'm getting at, and see if he can become something really special over that time. And that offense kind of accentuates some of his skill sets. So that will be really interesting to see.
And they could probably use some special packages for him with Jalen Hurts back there and Saquon Barkley back there. Yeah. I don't know. It's a good fit for him.
So he may be somewhat, a top 2-3 round pick. Yeah. That's kind of how I envision him for making this decision. Obviously, he's hearing that he, through the draft process, that he's going to, you would think anyway, that he's some form of a, first or second round guy. It's some grade that he's like, okay, I'm leaving.
Maybe. Jalen Hurts ended up being a second round guy. Yeah.
Well, he was a much more polished.
For sure.
That.
But this is a different, a deeper quarterback class for Jalen Hurts versus this one for Milroe. Mm-hmm. Okay, when we come back, we'll get to your phone calls 615-737-1045, and we'll talk about, were the Titans quarterbacks betrayed by their surroundings? We'll talk about that when we come back. Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 1045 The Zone.
Hey, folks, I've been talking about Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance for years because they're the leading experts in sports medicine and performance and the team physicians for the NFL, college, and high school athletics across Tennessee. And TOA provides sports medicine coverage to more high school and college sports teams than any orthopedic group in the state of Tennessee. They have 29 locations throughout the state and over 100 physicians throughout Middle and East Tennessee to take care of all your musculoskeletal needs. And TOA has 11 urgent care locations with walk-in availability 7 days a week. They offer direct access to sports medicine and performance, physical therapy and nutrition, personalized rehabilitation plans to enhance mobility, reduce pain, and improve overall physical function for patients recovering from injuries or surgeries. And TOA also offers sports performance training, a specialized program designed to enhance athletic performance and provide tailored training solutions for athletes at all levels. So please check out their services at TOA.com. Yes, that's right, TOA.com.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. We're going to go straight to the phone, 615-737-1045. We're going to go to Calvin, who wants to talk Titans. Calvin, you're on with Blaine and Zach. Oh, sorry, Jake. This is Jake. Jake, are you on the line?
Jake the Snake.
Jake the Snake is not there. So we're going to go to Calvin now for real. Calvin, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Hitman Zach, what's up, boys?
What's up?
What's going on?
How y'all doing, man? How was y'all New Year?
Oh, doing good.
Fantastic.
Man, look here. I can't wait till Sunday, man, see them Oilers jerseys. I'm going to think about Hitman. That's going to reminisce.
It definitely will.
Look, hey, Blaine, Blaine, I got a question for you, bro. Man, to me, man, I think Sirianni doing Saquon wrong for this reason right here. That man done this all year long. Okay? Ain't been hurt all year long. He done his thing. It's one last game. He can get that record, bro. Okay? Now, I get it. Saving for the playoffs and this, and that. But that man might never, ever get this opportunity again. And it could seal, he's probably already in the Hall of Fame, but that would seal it. Now, if he wanted to do it like himself, wouldn't you be like Sirianni? Wouldn't you like give him that option? Like, wouldn't you just say, okay, you know what I'm saying? Do you want to do it or not? I don't think in that case it should be the coach's call, not to me. Okay, that should be the individual, that man. Okay, holler at me. Let me know what y'all think about that.
Well, I thought it was a great question. I mean, what do you think, Zach?
Well, he asked you, so what do you think?
Well, I'm a little conflicted on this one because I've heard these narratives, and it really made me think like, well, that's how it's going to be. If the Eagles don't win a Super Bowl or go to a Super Bowl, then Sirianni should get fired because he didn't let Saquon go for the record.
Yeah, well, I don't agree with that.
I was like, what? So that it kind of about me. Now, when I got back to level head in my own head, I go, okay, we can talk about rest and everything else about this season and his history of injuries throughout his career. But to the caller's point, with one opportunity to do this, I would play it in the middle of the road. I would definitely let the team know that we're going to go for this record in one half. If he can't get it then, unless he's close, and we're going to continue in the third quarter. So I would probably meet in the middle of the road because it's something that, it'll be attached to your organization, his name, and breaking that record. And you always want to try to go for it. And if he got injured, guess what? So be it. But he is a special talent, and that's the fear from coaches. And then, by the way, I don't think it's just a coach decision. I think it's an organizational decision with the coach's input. I don't think a player is ever going to be in a position there to really dictate if he plays and if it's for the betterment of the team that he doesn't. I think they would link to there. And the reason why I would play him also is they're going to get a bye that first week. So he will be able to get rest because they're going to be the number one seed. No, who's the number one seed?
It's either Minnesota or Lions, whoever win that game.
Oh, but then they will still be a number. They will get a rest.
There is not in the new playoff system. It's only there's no rest.
It is a half, and that's it. That's it. I would try to hit it, and I think he has to get how many yards? It's still over 100, isn't it?
He has to get over 101.
Yeah. So, I'd try to go for it. And guess what? The team is going to do everything in their power to make sure that he doesn't get it. That's just the way it is. And they have the best offensive line, or maybe one or two offensive line in the National Football League. So I'd go for it, no doubt.
Yeah, I think, excuse me, it came right up on me. I understand I understand their thought process.
Yeah, no doubt.
But I'm kind of with you. First off, I think we know that Barkley probably wants to play, but I think he also understands this is probably in the best interest of the team if he's healthy going into the playoffs. Because we're talking about a guy who's had 345 carries. That is, he hasn't had 300 carries in any of the years that he's played in the NFL. And he's at 345 right now.
That's what I said, man.
It's insane. And then, of course, you add on to that 33 receptions. Mm-hmm. So, I'm kind of like, man, you're kind of playing with fire because if Barkley goes down, your chances go down in the playoffs. So, for me, it's just like, oh, man, that's really tough because the competitor in me. Yeah. But that's why you have coaches that make these decisions that talk it through because you got to protect the players from yourself and you got to do what's in the best interest of the team. But most coaches if I was Saquon Barkley, I'd be demanding to play. It's you're gonna have to shoot me in the leg to keep me from going out there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Barkley, from what I know, who know him from Penn State days, he is a class act guy, and I'm sure he's a heck of a competitor. But he's going to do whatever is required, whatever the coaches want to do. He's just that kind of guy. So Man, but it would be very tempting to try to go for that record. And by the way, as much as the coaches are trying to protect, him from himself, but it also goes under your, notch under your belt that you had a guy that rushed for, over 2,000 yards and has the record. It's under, guess what? As soon as they say your name, they're going to say that you had the leading rusher of all time, whether it was extra games compared to the other players, Eric Dickerson and O.J. Simpson, these people back in the day. Yeah. So at the end of the day, he's got the record.
You do bring up a good point, though, that I haven't really thought about. The Giants would be selling out to stop him.
So that means
that increases really the chance of him taking unnecessary and harder hits than normal because they're desperate to not have the Giants and Saquon Barkley
against him
be the team that breaks the record.
Right. But guess what? They're going to sell out, but that gives him an opportunity if he hits a crease to take it the distance.
That's true.
Now he has to hit a crease. And by the way, I just said that's one of the better offensive lines in the NFL now as far as run blocking. We know for sure. So this one here, I think that's why it's probably the Giants, and it's meaningless. But man, it'd be very
Would we be
tempting.
calling for it if it was against the Commanders or the Cowboys, or do we think that most people are kind of wanting it to happen because it's the Giants? What do you think? I know what we would think, what Saquon would think, but what do we think of the general public would think?
Oh man, I still think it's because it's the Giants, but I think they'd be calling regardless, to be honest. But even more so because it's the Giants and the team who drafted him to get the record versus the team that didn't re-sign him and drafted him would be really, really unique. And then, boy, those Philly fans would love to just dagger those Giants fans all day. Yeah.
Let's go to your phones. Let's go to Chase, who wants to talk. Chase, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Hey, Blaine. Hey, Zach. You guys got me excited about the second round with the offensive lineman talk being something might be available there in the second round in the 34th pick of the draft, since we'll be picking second on day 2, which is pretty exciting. But also, if we win on Sunday, we wouldn't just be dropping from 7 to 2. We would be going from 32 to 37.
Right.
Which there might not be one of those late offensive linemen first round available. And then we'd be dropping down around. Yeah, we'd be really losing 35 picks if we win on Sunday and drop to 7, because we're going to lose 5 picks each round.
Yep.
So 7 rounds, 5 picks each round, 35. I like you guys, you talk numbers, so just thinking about the number aspect of it, it's like, hopefully we lose. And my last point is, I know we've got that 7th round pick for Malik Willis that we got, but Green Bay's going to be picking like maybe 28, 27 area. Mm-hmm. So that's essentially near the last pick of the draft, or an undrafted free agent. I know Rand's getting a lot of, he's getting compliments for getting something from Malik, but at that point, you're looking at an undrafted free agent pick or a last undrafted free agent pick. So my hope is that he doesn't go into this draft with a lot of, fans love me and I've done a great job mentality, because he has made a couple of moves that moved us up a little bit, but he needs to go in like, if he stays, he needs to go in like, I've got 7 picks here, and I've got great picks. I'm in a good spot, and I need to take advantage of this, because the Titans aren't really depending on one player to change this franchise or to change this record. They're going to need some depth. So each of that first round, second round, third round, early picks are going to be crucial, and hopefully he builds a little bit of some X's. Some Jimmys and Joes.
Yeah, for sure.
We have guys that can help us going into next year. Not just one guy, but 4 guys, 5 guys that are starting.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, totally, Chase. Just looking at, so everybody knows what he's saying is that not only you're picking second in the first round, you're picking second in the second round, 4th round, and 5th round. Okay. So if you drop those rounds as well, because you're talking about pick number 2, pick number 34, pick number 103, and pick 139 in rounds 1, 2, 4, and 5 because you don't have a third round pick. But that also makes those picks more attractive if you wanted to trade up. Mm-hmm. So if you want to trade back, you can get more picks. So like those are attractive picks. It's why it's so important that they lose this game. Not only for it just provides you so much flexibility and value and power in the draft. And you need that when you're talking about a team that has as many holes as they do currently, a team that is currently in a phase, going to be entering, I guess, phase 2 of a rebuilding phase, even though they never really said, they said reset but not rebuild. But they're going to be essentially in phase 2. You need those high picks all throughout the draft.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. That caller put it in context, man. Just hearing it out loud is like, oh my. It made me say, Tony Pollard, I don't know if you're going to be able to get your incentives in this game. Yeah. I'm telling you right now. Hey, man, come sit over here. You get a long time for this ankle to heal. We'll need you just in case we're in an emergency. We're going to start you, and then we will gradually play the other guys. Yeah. We're going to protect you from you. Not against you. We would love to see you get those incentives, but sometimes, you get on the wrong end of that.
Yep. And you got to be careful about what you do this week. Let's go to Aaron, who wants to talk to Blaine and Zach here on Cover 2. Aaron, what's up?
Hey, so I just have an idea of what we should do with the draft. I just want to hear y'all's opinion. Okay. Bradford is about to get paid by Minnesota. He's going to be the quarterback for a while. So why don't we pick Genty from Boise State on our first pick and trade our second pick to a team, to Minnesota, and we get J.J. McCarthy. I think that would be incredible, and then we can get some offensive linemen in our later picks. What do y'all think?
Thanks for the call, Aaron. Sam Darnold. He definitely meant Sam Darnold instead of Sam Bradford. Mm-hmm. But they both played for Minnesota, so I can see both named Sam. Mm-hmm. I mean, it sounds fun in theory, but I mean, it's very unrealistic. Also, do you really need a 5'9" running back with as many carries? He's had more carries than Derrick Henry did at college. A 5'9" running back for this team? I mean, like, you got Tony Pollard, Tajay Spears. I mean, that seems there's so many other holes. Running back's not on the list for me. That's just how I feel.
Definitely not. I like the player, but we don't need a running back. I think we can get away with the guys that we have, and Pollard's been quality here. He's over 1,000, and he's impacted even the receiving game. So that's not even on the board. Now, the other question he asked, what was it, trading a second-round pick to get J.J. McCarthy? Now, that, I don't even know how people would value him at this point in time, coming off an injury where he didn't play at all this entire season from the knee injury. Is that correct?
Well, I'm sorry, repeat that again.
J.J. McCarthy.
Oh, yeah.
Not playing all season, or was it portions of the season as far as him dressing? I know he didn't.
Yeah, he had 2 different surgeries.
So that would be a little alarming for me. I don't know what the extent of those injuries. Maybe they were just scopes. But I don't know what his value would be in a trade if they signed Sam Darnold and then trade. If I was them, I would keep him and just keep it moving unless somebody gave me a nice ransom there. So I wouldn't do that if I'm the Titans. They need too many holes. Second round picking, you're giving up even more collateral. Nah, I can't do it. It sounds good though, but man, no. What about you?
Yeah, I'm just I get the idea of like the J.J. McCarthys and the Hendon Hooker trades and all this kind of stuff, but and I listen, I love a good hypothetical as much as anybody, but I mean, it's just not realistic for this team.
Would you do a swap Hooker for Levis?
Oh, I would.
Yeah, okay.
I would.
Yeah, I definitely would do that.
And that's not because of orange bias or Big Blue Nation bias or anything like that. It's just that I think Hendon Hooker fits what this team is looking for anyway.
Well, whenever I'm speaking of what I think is the best for the Titans and not biased from any point of view besides wanting the Titans to win.
Yeah. All right, let's go to James, who wants to talk some football. James, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. I just want to let you know that if the Titans end up with the second overall pick, they will have tied with the Patriots in overall record. So the draft order would actually switch, and they would get the first pick of the second round.
Okay, so it looks like what I'm seeing here, is that right? Because I'm seeing that they go from 30, the Patriots have the 32nd overall pick.
No, it would flip because they had the same record.
Gotcha.
Oh, okay. Well, that'd even be better.
I'd have to research on that because I'm pretty sure. I mean, the Draft Tech has it where they're in the second round the whole way through, but here on Tankathon, they have Tennessee. Tankathon. They have New England number 1, Tennessee number 2 in the first round, and then in the second round, Tennessee number 1 and New England 36. So I don't know. Maybe the Tankathon order is not right now.
Well, I wonder how they can do that.
Beyond it.
It's the fact that they moved to 36, not even 2.
Yeah, not even 2. So I guess there's something to do maybe beyond that. I'll have to do some research because that's really weird. I don't understand what happened there. So
almost like Arizona State.
Because you would think it would just stay the whole way through.
Yeah, I thought so.
So we'll have to do research on that. But either way, I like Ashton Gianti, but you're talking about a guy that is 5'9". He has more carries than Derrick Henry coming out of college, which is incredible to think about. So he's got a lot of wear and tear on him. And at that body size and frame, is that like... I remember when everybody said that Bijan Robinson was going to be generational and a can't-miss prospect. And listen, he's fine this year, but he didn't start off really good. And you need someone that's going to be an impact player day one, not a... And that's, quarterbacks aside, if you're not going to draft a quarterback, you need an impact player day one. And I don't know that Ashton Gianti's that guy for this particular team.
Yeah, I know. And I think he's actually going to be a really good player. He reminds me a little bit, and I hate doing this because this guy's a Hall of Fame player, but his size makes me think of him, and actually he's a little faster, and that was Emmitt Smith. And I think, I don't know if he'll be generational like that, but as far as his build and the way he runs, he reminds me of him with more speed. And, it's unfortunate, I think he still had over 100 yards, but he had 30 carries, but he fumbled a couple times. So, Boise State, you knew they were overmatched a little bit there in the trenches against Penn State. And to me, Penn State made some mistakes in that game where they should have just kept running the freaking football. I like both of their running backs. Oh, man, besides their quarterback, the freaking tight end, they got some NFL dudes all over the place. Just sometimes, Frankenbeans. I call James Franklin gets to being a Frankenbean and calling the offense. I don't know who's calling what, but, man, they're just really consistent. The only thing that's been consistent there is him because the offensive coordinators have changed all over the place every year or so, every 2 years, even the DC. So he's had his hands in there, and they to me, it was easy cooking in there in this game. I thought they should have just kept hammering them.
Yeah, I mean, you can't get away with that kind of play calling switch against these other teams when you get going, and that. I mean, what are you doing? I mean, Drew Aller was going crazy. Your offense was clicking, and then you just kind of dial it back, and it just doesn't make any sense.
It turned me off.
But this is why he is such a. I mean, I don't want to be mean or anything, but this is why they don't show up in big moments more often than not.
The big games has always been the question with Frankie Beans.
And Boise State's not really. I mean, I get that it's a big game in theory, but it's still Boise State. I mean, Penn State should win that game 10 out of 10 times regardless, but he could have blown them out and really made a statement, and he just chose not to. It's just like he decided to get conservative. And Mike Vrabel kind of did that too. You get a lead, and then you just sit on the lead, and you just run, let my defense go. And I'm a big fan of attack. Once you get the lead, just keep cramming it down their throat, keep scoring points, run up the scoreboard until they stop you.
Yeah,
don't be the reason they can stop you.
To a certain extent, depending on how much you trust your players, and obviously that's your quarterback,
right?
And what you can do and where we're at in the game. If we're early on in the game and we're kind of controlling and we're getting a little bit of lead, we're going to keep on coming because you got to know, hey, man, this could change in a drop of a hat. We're dealing with college young age kids. So to the extent, even 22, 23, hey, man, these guys lose concentration every game after halftime. Like, this game is over. The Texas game, you thought it was over. And then as you come back, Arizona State ties it up, and now it's a game. You're like, oh, man, what happened here? Keep the pedal to the metal. Zach, I'm with you.
Yeah, that Arizona State game was incredible.
Oh,
it had my wife hooked. She was following through, and she's like, "Who's
name?
this?"
I love that
Cam
guy.
Scatabo.
Oh, Scatabo. Oh my! I don't know how good he'll be in the Pro Bowl. Boy, Scatabo.
He was throwing up on the sidelines at the start of the second half, and he came down with some kind of sickness and still went out there and made plays. And I think they even kind of lined up the ball a little short, but they ended up getting it on the fourth down play. But that targeting call.
Yeah, what do you think? We're going to discuss that after the break.
Yeah. I think that Texas has been the big benefit lately of an easy road to the college football playoffs, and so far, an easy road in the college football playoffs, and that's why I think that Ohio State is going to mollywop them coming up next. We'll talk more about that game. We'll talk more about the Tennessee Titans, and also your phone call, 615-737-1045 if you want to get in on the conversation. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Doors.
For many of you who have lived here a long time, you already know Eurofix has been in Middle Tennessee area for your European car repair needs now for 26 years. And we've all gotten to watch them grow. And I don't know about you, but I love watching a hometown business take off. Well, we're now proud to announce the 5th location in Mount Juliet for Eurofix on Mount Juliet Road, right across the street from Dairy Queen. And Eurofix can serve you in Franklin, Hundred Oaks, Murfreesboro, Belmead, and now Mount Juliet. It's pretty cool getting to watch a small-town mechanic starting in the barn of his backyard of a single-wide trailer and now grow to 5 locations repairing thousands of cars each month. And at Eurofix, you get a 3-year nationwide warranty and a free loaner car with every repair appointment. And all you have to do is just give them a call at 844-EUROFIX. That's right, 844-EUROFIX, or you can visit them online at myEurofix.com. That's myEurofix.com. But always tell them Blaine sent you.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Doors, 615-737-1045 if you want to get in on the conversation. The chat's been getting a little crazy, getting a little out of hand over here. We got people attacking each other, personal attacks. Apparently, someone Bert, the producer, who's filling in on Buck's show, called one of the guys fat. I think he called Curtis fat. It's getting a little wild in here.
Jackson, is this true?
I was not here. Can't confirm or deny.
It's turned into like a roast. Yeah, walks into the chat with the pizza delivery meme. Bryce got it right on there. The F&M Bank chat on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook Live, wherever you get your Zone TV. I mean, I look at this Texas team, and I'm just like, man, I really think they're going to get, just whipped by Ohio State. Ohio State's playing on another level right now.
Yes, they are.
And
but one thing you can say, though, about this game, though,
yeah,
Texas and Ohio State probably are in the top 5, if not 1, 2, with roster talent. And so that will be interesting when you rise. Now, here's what I can say. Arizona State game, sometimes really good teams lull themselves to sleep. They go, oh, this is boring. We're already blowing them out. And then all of a sudden they're in a fight. And they still found a way to win. So sometimes you play to the level of your competition. Good teams still win even when they don't play well. So as much as I'm right there with you, I think Ohio State probably now is going to win the whole thing. I'm not going to say that they're going to just blow out Texas.
Well, I look at it this way: if they can get, if they can get, that's what I said. If they can get after Ewers like they did Dylan Gabriel, it's over for you because his footwork is sloppy. Sark is going to have to reach deep into his bag of offensive tricks to really get and protect Quinn Ewers from this Ohio State. I mean, they're just playing out of their mind. I haven't seen. Yeah. I've watched a lot of college football this year, and South Carolina was one of those teams that got really hot at the right time, even though they didn't develop into anything. But they were like, for weeks, you're looking at this team, and you're like, dude, this team is legit. You're looking at Ohio State, and it's funny because, Ohio State loses to Michigan, and we're all talking about Vrabel taking the job. Ryan Day getting fired if they lose in the playoffs. And we're talking, you don't really hear any reports about Vrabel tied to NFL jobs during that time. Then Ohio State whips UT, and then you hear the old Vrabel PR machine coming out of the Athletic and everything else saying, hey, look, we got to get these NFL jobs rolling for Mike Vrabel, and Mike Vrabel this, Mike Vrabel that, because Ryan Day's team made a statement against UT, and they followed University of Tennessee, and they followed that up with an even bigger statement against Oregon, who they barely lost to earlier in the year, but they whipped them. Yeah. I have never seen a team get whipped like that in this year. I mean, like that. I mean, it was brutal.
From all levels, they couldn't stop the running game. They got beat in the trenches. They got big plays. I don't know why they keep letting these elite receivers just run freely, even when they're in the slots. I mean, it was just a coaching clinic, really, and a manhandling of a team that we're not even on the same plane. So you always kept hoping, Oregon score here, they can get back in it. Yeah. And it made me look at Dylan Gabriel a little bit more. He has to be in the right offense in the NFL to actually be a starter in the league. Yeah. I don't think he's starter. His height's going to be an issue. Not being the runner that can maneuver. He became just an average player, and those guys aren't even NFL players. Now, a lot of guys on our roster will be, but now you're talking about an entire roster and a defense. So, they really put everything in perspective there. Also made me think about, should certain freshmen actually get to come out?
I tell you, Jeremiah Smith, if he came out, he would be up there with Travis Hunter as the number one overall pick. He's built different than Ryan Williams. And I like Ryan Williams, but he is built different.
Oh, my God. I couldn't believe it. I said, what are they doing in these workouts for this guy to look like as a true freshman?
And the stuff that he's doing, the boxing out of the defenders, the going up for the jump balls, everything this kid does, and he's a kid, everything he does as a freshman is incredible. And listen, what Ryan Williams does is also incredible. Yeah. But what Jeremiah Smith is, he's just on a whole nother level, which is saying a lot because Ryan Williams is so damn good.
He is special too, as well. But this guy's already man-built ready for the NFL. It looks a little bit different here. So I
want to ask Jackson a question. Jackson, does the loss that Oregon just got dealt by Ohio State make you feel better about the University of Tennessee losing?
In a coping kind of way, yeah. Like I don't like
in a coping kind of.
Yeah.
I don't think it doesn't change anything. Like I didn't enjoy Oregon getting it knocked out of them the way Tennessee did. I don't think it's fun.
Yeah, I mean, like I heard that question posed. Like UT fans are dealing with a lot of cope. Because, I mean, there's a lot of questions in the transfer portal right now. What's going to happen with this team? What's this team going to look like? Was that your best chance? and you kind of blew it, or you just really ran into a buzzsaw. But that wouldn't make me feel any better.
Honestly, I was more disappointed than happy that Oregon got their block knocked off, because that was the game to look forward to all weekend, was Oregon-Ohio State rematch. The first game was electric. The second one was terrible. This was just disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, I just think, man, you look at it, and I'm like, I could not give a crap. That wouldn't make me feel any better. It just really wouldn't if I was a UT fan.
No, I didn't feel any better either.
Does it ease concerns a little bit? Maybe. That's probably the most positive thing you can say.
But what concerns does it ease? Because you still have all these concerns popping up in, this offseason so far since you guys been ousted earlier than Alabama.
Right.
You're probably not as far as you think. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what I feel like is, it doesn't feel like you guys are probably as close as you were last year. That's what it feels like to me. Maybe I'm just, being too negative.
22?
What?
You mean in 22?
No, I'm talking about coming up in 2025. You guys aren't going to be as good as what you were in 2024.
Yeah. With
like
the
that was your
O-line and
shot.
wide receiver issues, and then some of the, pass rushers with Reese Pierce leaving. Man, that is a lot to replace there. And it can be done, but you got to be active in the portal. How active in the portal have Tennessee been?
Not so far very active, but I don't know. I'm just saying that does not feel like Tennessee Volunteers have as bright as outlook as you did probably in 2024.
I agree.
But listen, all that means is that Nico just has to take that next step. He's under the microscope a little bit more this year, and then he's going to have to be the reason they win games, not Dylan Sampson.
Right now. If he can
Not the
carry him, he
defense.
takes it the next step. I'm right there with you because he is in the position, being the quarterback, that can make things happen, even without elite level talent all over the place. And that will be something to watch because I think it's now time for him to rise. And I thought that's the only way they were going to beat Ohio State. And to be honest, considering what happened in this game, he wasn't the reason why they lost. I can tell you that. He was running for his life. I thought he was going to get knocked out of that game after his helmet got cracked.
And then Brew McCoy's gone. Excuse me. Have they decided what's going on with Mike?
We were supposed to know this morning. We know nothing.
Oh, great.
Wonderful. Love that.
Isn't that crazy that we still don't know anything on that front?
Uh-oh.
What do you think that means?
Tomfoolery is
No
going
Brew
on.
McCoy, no Squirrel White. Didn't Chaz Nimrod enter the transfer portal too?
I believe Lucas had a stat. It was like 72% of Tennessee's receiving yards are going to be gone for next season.
Wow, 72%.
That's what I said. But you know what? That doesn't bother me. What bothers me is where are we at in the portal getting by? You can't just depend on recruiting classes.
Yeah.
And they're going to have Boo Carter on the offense too?
Boo Carter does want to play some offense. I think it'll be left up to his performance in spring and ability to learn the offense a little bit, to how much we actually see that coming to fruition. And then we don't know. They're taking swings at these transfer portal receivers, Zachariah Branch out of USC, and a bunch of different other guys that they're going to try to get in for a visit.
Gotcha.
And it's according to Bryce right now on the F&M Bank chat on YouTube, says the Vols are ranked 79th in the transfer portal class right now.
Yeah, I believe they only have one commitment from the guard from Arizona.
Well, at least it's an offensive lineman, They
need offensive linemen.
They need them bad.
They're leaving.
So tomorrow's show, we're going to talk about a couple of different things. We're going to talk about what has the NFL shown us as far as what does the trend say is best, clean house or keep one. We're going to show. I'm going to give you some win percentages, give you some stats, but we're also going to talk about tomorrow. Have the Tennessee Titans quarterbacks been betrayed by their own team? Have they been betrayed by the wide receivers, the defense, and special teams? Have they been put in bad spots? We're going to talk about that on tomorrow's show. This has been Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons. 3HL's up next, and they're going to be live from Buffalo Wild Wings over in Gallatin, Tennessee, over in my neck of the woods. So you guys should head over there and see them. But it's Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone. And in the meantime,
and in between time,
peace.
I love living in Middle Tennessee. We've got great restaurants, entertainment, sports, and one of the nation's top Ford dealers right here in our backyard. Two Rivers Ford. Remember that name. Two Rivers has been a staple in our community since 1983. They're locally owned. They have a non-commissioned sales team, and they sell below MSRP. They've been doing business with integrity for decades. Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted